Somehow, we have come to the erroneous belief that we are all but flesh, blood, and bones, and that's all. So we direct our values to material things. I don't like to attach myself to material things. I hardly read fiction, I mostly read non-fiction. I like to examine material things. Material goods consist of useful material things, and of all rights to hold, or use, or derive benefits from material things, or to receive them at a future time. The discontent that lies in the human condition is not satisfied simply by material things. I see what happens when one gets very attached to material things. That's just not what my life is. People are lost. Their feelings are based around material things, and because that doesn't make them happy, they look for something else, bullfighting or soccer, or they go traveling, off to India, and that's not right. You can't just decide, I'm going on holiday to India, only when God allows you to. You have to ask His permission to go there. I've never valued material things. I've always been more attached to people. The pursuit of material things takes time, and I realized my time is very valuable, especially during the season. My time with my kids, what I do to take care of my body, and of course any intellectual pursuits I may have on the side. Those are all things that I value. I have a notion that if you are going to be spiritually curious, you better not get cluttered up with too many material things. Family always gonna be there. The material things, they come and go. Material things are not helpful after a certain degree of saturation, so you turn to other products. I think that therapy is a product that can transform you. But why does it need to be packaged as a product? Why can't I work on myself with my friends and family? Music is what I care about, not material things. By a lot of people's standards, I lived a very privileged life. I never wanted for attention, I never wanted for material things. In some ways, I was probably spoiled because I never had to share, and I was doted on. Don't get me wrong, I love training and I love playing, but everyday life? People see the money and the material things that footballers have, but you get to a Premier League level because you have something inside you and you can play. 90% of that is self-pride. Infrastructures of power always inhabit the surface of the earth somehow, or the skies above the earth. They're material things, always, and even though the metaphors we use to describe them are often immaterial, for example, we might describe the internet as the cloud or cyberspace, those metaphors are wildly misleading. It's nice to have material things, but they're very superficial, aren't they? There are only so many material things you can have before it becomes boring. I grew up with very little, so material things have never been that important for me. Very early on in life, I decided the hell with it, material things weren't for me. Christmas would come, and other kids would have all these presents, and it wouldn't bother me a bit. There's nothing wrong with material things as long as you don't lie, cheat and steal. Material things are delightful, but they're not important. People spend time worrying about things they think they have to have and lose perception of what they do have. You can have all the money and material things you want. If you aren't here to enjoy them, what good do they do? Let's be cautious about relying so much on material things that we have no energy left for the spiritual aspects of our lives. The biggest lesson from Africa was that life's joys come mostly from relationships and friendships, not from material things. I saw time and again how much fun Africans had with their families and friends, and on the sports fields, they laughed all the time. From this process has emerged a parallel process of translating traditional working and living values into a new political and economic power, a power increasingly based upon the strength of money and those material things money can purchase. I'm not a guy who's about the material things. I don't need material things like gold and platinum records on my wall, Grammys, or Hall of Fame nods. Children will not remember you for the material things you provided but for the feeling that you cherished them. I didn't have a great childhood, and neither did Debbie, my wife, so we both try to give the kids not only the material things we never had but also the hugs and the love. We should never let material things get ahead of God or become so important in our lives that we can't walk away from them if He tells us to. Anything you own that has a hold on you is a problem. Winning isn't just about the material things you attain, it's about being your best in all you do. My children have absolutely no interest in my fame. They're very sophisticated, and they have a spiritual perspective on material things because we go to church. Even though I didn't have a lot of material things, I had the love and education, and altogether a lot of kids don't have the same chances, so the goal is to give some chances to the kids that don't have it. I'm not so in love with material things that I'll do anything for money. That allows me the luxury of doing things of value. It's a little weird, you're headlining a show on TV, and obviously, people like to associate that with material things. I drive a, 1999 Chevy Blazer. There's no more cushion on the driver's seat, and the tires are about gone. Science is the greatest creative impulse of our time. It dominates the intellectual scene and forms our lives, not only in the material things which it has given us, but also in that it guides our spirit. I don't have a desire for material things. As long as I'm happy, I'm good, man. Don't depend on other people to be responsible for you. Don't make yourself stressed out over nonsensical things like material things. We never got much in the way of material things, but if you can be spoiled by good cooking, my mom spoiled me 3 times a day all my life. Let's remember that our children's spirits are more important than any material things. When we do, self-esteem and love blossoms and grows more beautifully than any bed of flowers ever could. I never grew up with money, and I never wanted a lot of material things. I don't feel like material things validate me in any way. I am convinced that material things can contribute a lot to making one's life pleasant, but, basically, if you do not have very good friends and relatives who matter to you, life will be really empty and sad, and material things cease to be important. People give more importance to material things. It all seems to be a power game, while people ought be making the most of every moment as time is fleeting. Holidays have been commercialized. It has become about material things, but the holidays are about sharing stories and being in each other's presence. Material things don't matter. Material things aren't important to me. I'm living the exact life I planned on living when I was 5. My life has taken some turns and changes that I didn't anticipate, and it has brought me different things. I thought material things would bring me happiness, which they didn't. But through this, I have learned what things are important and what aren't. Historically, science and society have gone separate ways, although society has provided the funds for science to grow, and in return, science has given society all the material things it enjoys. I want to bring back the human encounter into places where material things have a prime status. In a museum, you're supposed to look at things and not talk to other people. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.